Welcome back to the Future Skills podcast here at Universal Skills Group, Wakefield. Today we're having a little bit of a different spin on the podcast and we're looking at everything continuous improvement with our apprenticeship provision. I'll be joined by Katy Garside and Marion Hussain, who form part of our continuous improvement team. We'll be looking at our apprenticeship provision further and also how to get involved in an apprenticeship programme yourself. We're in the training centre at Universal Skills Centre Wakefield today with Katy Garside and Marion Hussain. Guys, I think a good place to start here would be just a little bit about yourselves and the roles that you have here as part of the continuous improvement team for our apprenticeship provision. So Katy, over to you first. Tell us a little bit about your role and what you do here at Universal Skills.
My role is to look after delivery, so my title is Delivery and IQA Manager. So basically what that means is I look after both the electric side of the business and the apprenticeship side, so the dual fuel. My role really is to make sure that we give the best delivery we can to the learners so they get the best experience, and to make sure that the tutors who are delivering it are up to the level that we want them to be.
Thanks, that's great. And Marion, what about yourself? What does your role entail?
I'm the apprenticeship supervisor, and what we do is, my small little team, we make sure that we deliver a quality standard for our apprenticeships and that we are compliant with the ESFA. And just kind of taking control of the apprenticeship journey, making sure that the learners that come into the centre from day one are able to get a qualification under the belt by the end of their apprenticeship.
Thank you. So, almost 3 years now we've been delivering apprenticeships here at Universal Skills, and that equates to around 400 apprentices that have gone through. And as part of this continuous improvement team, what we try and focus on is getting the best out of the learners. And as we know, all of our learners come from all different walks of life. We see lots of different scenarios, lots of different people. And what's for sure is that our tutors, our delivery team, all the staff here are trying to make a difference in those people's lives. And as part of both of your roles, I think really key things that you do is you try and add that little bit of extra within your team. So Katy, can you give us a bit of an example of recently what we've done specifically towards continuous improvement within your delivery team?
Yeah, so recently what we did is look at some different assessment methods and teaching methods, so people share best practices, sort of things like we all obviously have the same syllabus to teach, but explain to other people different formats that you could use it in, so getting a bit more interactive, using IT, and just sort of explaining how we can differentiate between different learners depending on abilities. As you've said, everyone's from different walks of life, not everyone comes in at the same level, and you have the same end goal for them, so it doesn't always mean doing it the same way. So I think one of the things that was really good about the last workshop is that people managed to explain how they deliver something, and everyone had a different input in it, and we basically came up with new ideas that sometimes you can get stuck in a rut when you're teaching the same things. So it was good to have other people's ideas, and then you could take them away and put them into your lessons, and it was a bit different.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest strength within your delivery team there? Because we've got lots of different people that are experienced, some in gas, some in electrical, some have come from a dual fuel background. What do you see as the biggest strength within that team?
I think the enthusiasm and passion that the tutors have for the learners that come through. So nobody wants anyone to fail. They're all really keen and they're really on hand to help them. They'll always put in the extra effort. If anyone's struggling, then they always want to help, and I think that's something you need. I think you need people who care when they're in that position. At the end of the day, they're here for a full new career, so you need people who are going to help you along the way and are happy to support you in any way. And I think that doesn't just go for the delivery team either. I mean, like Marion and her team, any of the people really, they're all really got the best interest at heart for the apprentices. Yeah,
which brings me nicely on to Mariam and her team there at the apprenticeship side of things. What would you say, Mariam, from your side of things?
I'd say something that we've actually looked into recently, and something that we've actually developed on as well, is the wider learning side for our apprentices. Just ensuring that not only are they set up technically, but also for life, because when they do go out into customers' houses, we'd like them to understand what the British values are, and to just make sure that they've got that respect for their customers, and to also understand what's going on within their region, because everybody works I mean, they work all over the country really, so making sure that they understand what prevent is, and what's happening within their area whilst they're working out in the field. And the equality and diversity side of things as well, because they are going to be working with other apprentices and their employers, and like I say, with customers, so they just need to kind of make sure that they are respectable, they are tolerant with others, and then they have that understanding that everybody's different. Not only are their needs and do they need to understand how they work as a person, but it's always nice for them to also understand what their colleagues are like, and then for them to help each other out really. So that is something that we have been focusing on, sending some worksheets out, but that's not only for our apprentices, we've also been looking into that for our members of staff as well. So just making sure that they have the understanding, so that when they do teach in the classroom, they are bringing up the wider aspect of things rather than just focusing on the technical side.
Makes sense. And I'm right in thinking that both of you have been apprentices, Marion in business admin and in Katy in smart metering. What was your experience like as an apprentice, Mariam? How did you find the experience? Now, how have things changed since you sort of see it from the different side of the glass now, if you like? You were an apprentice and now you really look after our apprenticeship provision. So how's it changed from being an apprentice to seeing things from another side and perspective?
I would say it has actually changed massively, because when I started off as an apprentice, and with going through the business admin route, it didn't really set me up for a job. I just felt like I went through the apprenticeship, and I did enjoy it because I understood more about what I need to do as an administrator, but it didn't really let me progress from that. Whereas what we actually focus on now is the progression route for our learners. So not only are we telling them that you can become an apprentice, but there's also different things that they can move into, something that they would enjoy, and they can focus on their values and what they enjoy as apprentices. And what I do believe is that not only are we concentrating on the learner achieving, but we also concentrate on the fact that they can become something, and that this is something that will benefit them in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great that you've seen it from both sides there, both from sort of the overseeing it from the supervisor position that you have now, but also being enrolled as an apprentice as well. What was it like for you, Katy, as an apprentice? How long ago was it?
Did my apprenticeship almost 10 years ago now, and I was 19 when I started it, so I was quite young, but I suppose that's what everyone sees when they think of an apprenticeship, is that they think everyone's going to be 18, 19, when realistically the people who I was with were in the 40s. So I think for me, I was one of them people who thought that that's what was going to happen, and obviously you quickly learn that a lot of apprentices are not of that age, and most of them are actually over 25. But I loved it. I think mine differed slightly because mine was part of a job. You knew you had a job at the end of it, and as part of your apprenticeship you went out and did that job as well. So obviously it was a bit different to what you had, but I think it really set me up. I think I grew up. I think you learned a lot and they really supported you. So from my side of things, it's probably the best thing that's ever happened.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I went through a very similar process to you. As a new entrant into an industry that I had no idea about, and I'd say it's life-changing. We all see the apprentices around our training centre. We deliver training and our apprenticeship provision nationwide, from people in London all the way up to the top of the north of the country, and we can really see the impact that has on people's lives. And I'm glad you mentioned that about age within apprenticeships, because people still do think there's an age cap on it, and of course you can be any age to be an apprentice, above sort of 17 onwards. So what would your advice be then, Katy, for somebody who's interested in an apprenticeship programme but potentially thinks, I'm too old for this, I'm too young for this, I don't know enough about it, I don't think it'll work? What would your advice be to that person?
Don't think about any of the barriers. I think whether one of your barriers is age, whether it's that you think you haven't got a clue about that kind of topic or whatever, the whole point of an apprenticeship is that they will take you from zero to hero, I suppose the saying is. Fair enough, I liked DIY when I was younger, but I came from being a waitress, and I now teach people the apprenticeship that I went on. So I would just say, just do it. Don't let anything put you back and think you can't do it, because you can.
And what about yourself, Marion, from your side? So I'll give you the example of somebody who's interested in joining an upcoming apprenticeship with us and are a bit apprehensive because they think, I don't know enough about apprenticeships, I've never done one before, never thought about enrolling before, maybe a little bit put off by the age barrier, maybe they're in the 40s, something like that. What would your advice be?
What I would honestly say is that there is no age limit to learning. So it doesn't matter what age you are, it doesn't matter where you are in life, what stage you are in life. Coming into an apprenticeship would be the best start. Like I say, it doesn't matter what age you are, you'd come straight in and you'd be learning on the job. So it wouldn't be a case of you just sitting and doing write-ups or creating things. You'd be learning, you'd be out there, you'd be hands-on, you'd be within an apprenticeship. The best thing about it is that there's loads of different bits that you will enjoy. So not only will you be focusing on the fact that you need to build a portfolio, which is probably what you will have to do, but you'd also have to make sure that you know what you're doing practically, such as those learners that are kinesthetics or that are practical, that are hands-on, those that like to read and write. So within an apprenticeship, there's loads of different aspects that you can go into. So again, just going back to your question there, Dan, what I would actually say is that you could actually start an apprenticeship at any age, and I would actually encourage people to move into apprenticeships where they can pick up on the knowledge and the skills and the behaviours and expand on them when they're out in the field and they're working with their employers and employees. I mean, the amount of people that they would meet within their own industry as well, and picking up and learning a lot more from them, I think it's just fantastic.
I also think when you do an apprenticeship as an adult, you take your own responsibility with it. When you're learning in school, you have to be there. Sometimes you don't take full responsibility, whereas as an adult, it's up to you to do everything, and I think that's the difference, and I think that's why people enjoy it, because they know they're going to get something out of it at the end, and they put the effort in, whereas like I said, in school, you sort of just...
Some people don't
you
want to
do it just because you have to do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think with the learners that we have coming in the centre, it's their choice. It's their choice. They want to do it. They want to be there, and you can actually see the drive from them. It's those that are actually coming up to us and saying, how can I get a distinction? How can I do this better? I've completed this write-up, or I've completed this practical. What can I do just to make it that little bit better? And I think it's fantastic seeing that from them.
Yeah, no, completely sort of here with that. And just getting it back to why we're together here today in Wakefield is really for the continuous improvement deep dive that we're about to carry out with our apprenticeship provision. And I guess for us, it's now what's next, the next focus, and all three of us are really keen to make sure that we're improving things constantly. But what are you looking for now, Marion? If we look at the rest of this year as an example with our delivery team and our apprenticeship provision, what's next for you? What are you looking at? What's the hot topic for you at the moment for us to improve on?
The hot topic for me, Dan, what I'd say is just focusing on functional skills. Because although apprentices, when they do come into the centre, they'll be really geared up and focused on what they need to do, so what course it is that they want to do. But what they also need to understand is that they do need to have that basic knowledge of maths and English, and that's something that I really want to push forward, just so that they can understand and that they can see that it's not like the school days. They're not going to be sitting in a classroom, they're not going to have the teacher in front of them telling them what they need to do for percentages and fractions and that kind of stuff. We're going to make it fun. We're going to make sure that we do it so it relates to their course, so that they have a better understanding about it, and it doesn't bring up all the bad memories of being in school and them not being able to get their GCSEs. So yeah, I think that's what I'm going to be focusing on, just making sure that functional skill is also on the top of the list.
Absolutely. What about yourself, Katie, from a delivery point of view? Any hot topics there?
I think at the minute we're still working on embedding wider learning into everything. The tutors we've got know the technical side in and out. They wouldn't be in that position if they didn't. So integrating all the different parts for wider learning, so like safeguarding, prevent, that's really where we're at the minute, and that's my big focus. So when I go and do an observation, I like to see that British values is being brought up, like to make sure the apprentices understand not just the technical side, but the whole point of an apprentice is that you come out with a better engineer by the end of it, or if it's not an engineering one, that whole person has been well-rounded throughout the apprenticeship, not just solely focused on that topic that they went for.
Yeah, no, and you're right to mention the observations there, so because they're so key to improving our provision. And Bit of a different spin to the podcast today, because normally we have different companies that we work with, or different things that are coming up within training. Maybe something's changing with an EV or smart metering. But I was really keen to get us together today as a team, because it's such a crucially important part of what we do. Trying to be better and trying to be our biggest critic, which I think we're really good at. You know, the way that we communicate and the way that we talk to each other, we're always trying to improve, and it's so important. So I was keen really for our listeners today just to bring this team together and just to give them a little bit more of an insight of what we do here at Universal Skills.
So Dan, flipping it onto you, for anyone who's thinking about setting up a continuous improvement team, where would you tell them to start?
So my advice on that would be to look within, because a good company, a good workforce within will have the skills required to really take a look at themselves and say, how do we need to get better? You know, I do think one of our big strengths is we know where we're weak, we know where we need to improve, and we tend to implement things and make things better. So look at your staff, look at the organisation, and don't just look at one team as well. You know, have different parts of that organisation. So perhaps somebody from the office staff, perhaps somebody from the technical delivery side. You know, cherry pick those people and have the right people around the table, and have that designated time to review and go through how you can set yourself clear actions to improve, but make sure you don't overwhelm yourself. I think in the past, when we initially started on this journey with continuous improvement, we've had 30, 40 actions to go through sometimes, and it's just not achievable. You've got to set yourself those clear goals and really slim it down, because sometimes there's some real red flags that you need to deal with, and there's some other nice to have stuff that can come in the future. So, you know, really cherry pick those correct people in your workforce, sit down, have a bit of an action plan, and focus on some smaller points to begin with, and review constantly to improve your provision.
So my question to you then, Dan, is what would you say that you're most proud of in the training centre? So just as a whole, what would you say you're most proud of?
100% the team. You know, we show a lot of people around in Wakefield for tours, and people love the facilities. One thing I absolutely love about the training centre is when people walk in, the first thing that they are drawn to, almost like a moth to a flame. I'm scared of moths as well, by the way. But the first thing they are drawn to is the street, Electric Avenue, and we've made some great enhancements to that recently, which has been fantastic to see. But everybody comes in, they sign in, they look at the street, and they're like, wow, a street in a training centre. And then we show them round and we show them the different stages of training. We've got a stage 1, a stage 2 of gas, we've got an ACS centre, we have an EV room which is going through renovation at the moment upstairs, we have a smaller gas area. You guys know the areas, but I'm just trying to paint the picture here. And people normally come away from the tour quite impressed, especially when, you know, they see a real life scenario at the end of the street, and they see how we've converted houses into classrooms to utilise the space. And they come into the boardroom and we talk about the vision for training and how we can help. But 100% the biggest thing that I'm proud of is the team, because the hardest thing I believe in work is finding the right people, and I genuinely believe that we have got a fantastic team now who get along, that link arms, that help each other out, that will go the extra mile genuinely for people and want to do it. You know, it's taken a while to get to that stage, and we have got some of the scars to show for it, because, you know, every workforce I am sure has you know, a ride and a journey and some bumps on the way, and we've certainly had our speed bumps, but, you know, we look at the team now, and from back office to delivery staff to maintenance engineer, everybody works here, I believe, genuinely loves it and has got the learner at heart and at mind from the minute they walk through the centre on a morning at 7 o'clock, when they arrive in the vans, to the minute they finish. And I just trust the team so much, and I really believe that we will continue to go from strength to strength because of the people that we've got pushing us forward. So 100% the team that we've got here is the thing that I'm most proud of.
It's really nice to hear how enthusiastic you are about the training centre and your members of staff, because by the sounds of it, with what you've actually just said there, your enthusiasm and your positivity just filters down to everybody else, which is probably why they do show their best selves, and want to show that, you know, they can do this, and they want to make you proud, but also kind of just make their colleagues proud, and just everyone working together. So it just sounds great.
Thank you. Well, you're a big part of that, Mariam, as is Katy as well. And it's twofold, definitely. You know, you've got to have the right people, which I believe we've got, but the business has got to do the right things as well, and it's got to support its staff. I always think there's better things that we can do as a business as well, and we're looking at things at the moment to improve things for staff. So we'll constantly look at that. But yeah, like I said, really proud of the team, especially proud of you two as well on the continuous improvement team with the roles that you do. They're so crucially important to the business. So yeah, it's very proud moments for me is the team.
Thanks for listening to the Future Skills podcast today. I hope you've got a little bit more of an insight around continuous improvement and what we deliver here in the training centre.
Please make sure that you like and subscribe, and also check out our Knowledge Hub videos on YouTube.